YouTube, welcome back. Another episode of Rob's Yacht Club, brought to you by another friend of mine with a boat, because you know what they say. The only thing better than owning a boat is a friend with a boat. Today we've got Dr. Lynch, founder of a nice little seaplane flying by. Just throw some B-roll of that, Audie. Come on, it's really cool. We're out here in Seattle today, Bellevue, Kirkland, Lake Washington. Truly one of the best places in the world in the summer. If you didn't know, now you know. Dr. Ben Lynch, great friend of mine, someone I look up to and really have grown to admire over the years. Founder of Seeking Health. Can we talk numbers on here?
Yeah, sure.
A supplement company that will do north of $50 million in revenue this year, that he has built from the literal ground up by always doing the right thing from day one, something I find just kind of lost in today's world. And so Ben, thank you again for jumping on. I appreciate you taking the time. We were talking earlier about, I think a lot of young entrepreneurs in today's world, they build to sell companies. Like everyone's building with this glorious strategic exit in mind, where you don't have to work anymore and your life changes entirely. And you have a different view on that. And so as you're building Seeking Health year over year, how many years has it been?
We started in 2012, I believe, or 2011.
So over a decade.
Yeah.
Over a decade. What is your perspective on building this? And you could have sold this thing for, it's probably a 9-figure business. You could have exited it. You don't think like that. So how do you think about building a company the right way? What's important?
As long as I have fun and my customers are experiencing benefit and getting good results, then I'm happy and they're happy. As soon as things start getting difficult and I'm not able to serve them anymore for some reason, or somebody does a better job than I do and the market shifts and they go to them instead of me, then it's time for me to go. So right now, I'm a market leader and amazing innovator for various aspects of health, and nobody can touch me in those spaces. And my customers are extremely thankful for the products that I'm innovating or creating and formulating. And as long as that continues to happen, I see no reason to sell. Like I told you earlier, Robert, when I was reading books on retirement years ago, one book went in the trash because like top 100 things to do when you retire. Literally listing stuff for you to do. It's like, I can think of that. Another one said, retirement is doing what you want when you want.
Yeah.
And I'm essentially retired, but I'm retired running a multi-million-dollar business and serving people all over the planet with formulations that improve their lives. And why would I want to change that?
And for context, it's Wednesday at like 3 p.m. right now. And so when he
Yeah.
says he gets to do what he wants, that speaks to that. So speak on those categories really quick that you're, leading. And more importantly, why do you think you're leading those categories? Context here, I think you build from the ground up in terms of solving a fundamental problem. And I think when you do that, rather than like recklessly chase money, you win. So what are those categories and how did you go about finding those solutions to the problem?
Yeah, first off, I'll just say don't chase trends, create them. So if there's a problem out there, identify what the problem is, look at what the market is doing to solve those problems. If you can find a way to improve the market, which means that you're going to improve the problem for the marketplace, then you're onto something. And so when I was researching prenatal vitamins, I had realized that there's different types of folate out there that are vastly superior to the synthetic crap that people put into their supplements. And women were having multiple miscarriages.
Jeez.
And so I formulated these prenatal vitamins and worked with clients, and some of them having even dozens of miscarriages. Like one woman had 13 miscarriages and she shifted her diets and her supplementation and she had a beautiful baby boy. And then she went on and had another one.
So hold on, not to get too distracted here, but I like some polarity in my interviews, and I feel like this opened up an interesting window. I know a lot of vegans that can't get pregnant or have miscarriages. What is the science behind that, and what are some of the issues there?
Well, 90% of women, regardless if they're vegan, omnivore, carnivore, whatever, 90% of women who are pregnant are deficient in a compound called choline.
Choline.
Choline is extremely important for pregnancy. Everybody puts everything on folic acid, but choline is extremely important. Let's say, well, they've done research. If a woman is exceeding the amount of choline that she needs to take while she's pregnant, in mice studies, when this happens, the baby mice lived on their entire life and then died, they never got dementia, ever. And one of the fastest growing conditions today is dementia, and it's partly because 90% of pregnant women are deficient in choline, and choline comes from meat primarily. It's eggs, especially, and then organ meats, liver. And vegans and vegetarians, when I was working with patients, they were almost the sickest. I was working with athletes, female athletes, and they wouldn't have their periods anymore. And I would talk to the mom because they were still living at home, they're teenagers. I was like, she's undernourished, she needs to eat more meat. Is she eating meat? No, she's vegetarian. It's like, no, you're an athlete, you gotta eat meat. Start eating meat, and they start getting their menses back. So I'm all for it if people want to do that for philosophical reasons, but if it's nutritional reasons and you don't feel right, then you probably should change it. If you feel great, then don't change it. But also note that if you're on that road and you're vegan or vegetarian for a while and it's working great, there might be a time in your life where it doesn't feel great and shift it.
Or what if they are feeling great but still can't get pregnant?
Well, then you got to look at the nutrients coming in and most likely start supplementing. And you can supplement with something called like sunflower lecithin or phosphatidylcholine to get that choline that you need, and creatine as well.
Interesting, but nothing really beats the real thing, right?
Nothing beats the real thing, yeah.
And so, okay, all right, so that's one huge problem. And I know you've made, is that where you first made inroads, kind of in that whole prenatal space?
Yeah,
and
the genetic testing.
Yeah.
There's a gene that I became really well known for, genetic variation called MTHFR, and so that is associated with the folate, and that's when I designed the prenatal that has the choline and the folate in it. And so we went to market with that, and along with the education around this genetic mutation, and women were getting pregnant left and right and to term, and doctors were learning this and implementing with their patients. And so, yeah, that's what blew Seeking Health up.
I love it. I love it. And he doesn't just like preach this stuff. He's got like whole basketball team in there of young boys that he's raising.
Yeah.
So he lives it. But okay, so that was the first place you made inroads. What was the next real problem that you nailed home and was a home run?
Electrolytes was a big one. Everybody looks at electrolytes as just sodium, essentially. You're buying $40 package of sodium with maybe some corn syrup in it.
Well, hold on. That Element company, that's salt plus just stevia for $40.
Yeah, you look at the ingredients. I mean, the cost of goods on that is probably what, $2, and they're selling it for 40.
I think it's a scam.
Oh, it's unreal.
You probably can't say that, but I think it's a scam.
Yeah, it's not. It's not a good.
Rob
electrolyte.
Wolf, you sold out, bro.
Yeah, not good.
Sorry.
In order for electrolytes to work properly, you need to have ATP, because ATP is an essential component that your mitochondria make for energy. And if you lack that, then you're tired. But what the point is with the ATP, 40% of your body's energy is used at rest to pump electrolytes into your cell. So we're the only electrolyte that I know of that has ATP in our electrolyte to help facilitate the transport of magnesium and potassium right into the cell for the individual.
Yeah, game changer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, the other one that I find interesting is optimal focus. That's new, so you haven't dominated that area yet per se, but it's looking promising, and I think it's a cool backstory. Would you mind sharing it?
Yeah, so the backstory on that. So I got 3 boys, and our youngest was struggling in school. No matter what we would do in terms of learning environments, it didn't matter. He just kept struggling. He wore the earmuffs in class. He sat alone in class. If there was a test or an exam, he'd freak out and do really poorly. If I was trying to teach him something with his homework, he would freak out and lose patience. And then I'd freak out and lose patience. So it was just a tumble downhill. So I kept trying to try various supplements with him. I tried stimulating him with tyrosine. I tried calming him with theanine. Nothing was really working. So I went to Dr. Daniel Amen, did a SPECT scan, very expensive, but actually very useful. He did a very simple task of hitting a space bar with the letter X when it appeared on the screen. That's all he had to do. So imagine a screen with different letters and animals, and periodically an X would show up. He had to hit space bar when that X showed up.
Okay.
They scanned him after he did that. His entire brain was lit up, entire brain. And Dr. Amen was like, dude, all you had to do was hit X, or hit the space bar when X showed up. You used your entire brain to do that. So you are a major overthinker, overanalyzer, and stressing yourself out. So I was like, that's interesting. So I designed an acetylcholine supplement because I learned that acetylcholine is the #1 neurotransmitter associated with learning, memory, recall, and being calm in a situation that's stressful. So I put all those nutrients together, and after 3 years, I finally gave Theo one of the number 13 formulas that I tried. And the 13th one, he went to school, got an A on his test. He started raising his hand in class, answering all the questions, and he calls it his genius pill.
He calls it his genius pill?
Yeah, calls it his genius pill.
I love that. I love that. And so, and when did you release this product to market?
We launched it in spring, I believe, and we sold out in a month and a half. 5,000 bottles went in a month and a half. We didn't even launch on Amazon. We didn't even launch wholesale. It just word of mouth exploded.
And that's really the goodwill and equity that you've built up with your customers behind the brand name Seeking Health, in my opinion, and yourself, obviously. Would you say that's?
Yeah, definitely. If you build trust, then whatever you launch that's new and it resonates with your audience, it's going to perform and it's going to sell really well. But it takes a long time to build that trust, and it takes one mistake to kill it all. One.
And so over 13 or 14 years, however long it's been, how have you kept that perspective, knowing that you'd be here today, being able to sell out 5,000 bottles without spending a dime on advertising? Like, what gave you that long view from day one? Because you didn't start as a $50 million company, you know?
No.
And so how did you keep that just level-headedness about you that entire time?
I think I'm a doctor by training, but I'm also a doctor through desire. And doctors inherently have a high level of empathy. And when I see people struggling, it really bothers me.
I don't know about that. I know a lot of fuck doctors.
That's true. That's true. So I would say, for me, I have a very high level of empathy. And when I go to school back in the day when my kids were in elementary school, my kids would say, "Hey, Dad, see that boy or girl over there?" And I'd say, "Yeah." And I'd watch them for a while, and maybe they'd struggle talking or struggle moving or struggle with something. And they go, "Dad, can you help them?" I said, "Yeah, probably." And that always bothered me, and it bothered the kids too. So I think it's just a desire to help all people improve their life as much as possible. You know, some people don't give a shit, but
and so you came at it from day one like that, with that in mind.
Yeah.
Like you weren't, so it was more of a morals and ethics thing that happened to ultimately make you a lot of money.
Well, yeah, and let me share a story that most people don't know. There's this story that not many people know about, and hangovers are a problem for a lot of people. And I had a buddy of mine who was struggling with hangovers, and I rode with him in college, and we were good buddies. And I said, "Hey, take this vitamin, this vitamin, this vitamin." And so he's taking like 6 different things. And he lives about an hour away from me. He's like, "Damn, Ben, that's really working, and you should come out with something." And I go and visit him one other time, maybe a year later, and he goes, "Yeah, your supplement stack really helps." He goes, and he starts laughing. He goes, "I can drink more now." I was like, "Oh, that wasn't the point."
Yeah.
Wasn't the point of that. I read a research paper, and in the research paper, they said that if you could help somebody with their hangover, then they wouldn't desire to drink alcohol more. They'd be fine. I was like, "Oh, I'm actually doing a service to humanity." That's kind of opposite of what I would think, but okay. So if I design a supplement that helps people recover from hangovers, then they're not going to drink as much. So I formulate the supplement. I'm just about to make it. I go back to the study. I reread it, and it says the opposite.
You went full Einstein there, you know? You split the atom and
Yeah, and I was like,
power in the world, and
yeah.
then Fukushima happens.
Yep. I was like, oh, it's funny how your brain works. You know, I manipulated.
You're just looking for the good in people.
Yeah.
Nothing faulting you there.
So I was just like, no, I can't go to market with this. So I called the manufacturer and I said, pull it, can't do it. So, because I would be making more alcoholics, not less.
Is it good for their liver though? Does it help their liver?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
There's duality in everything, I think.
Yeah.
But
so I still tell you, there are moments where I drink a lot. It's very, very rare. I mean, I'm talking once every few years. I'll take that stack and I'm good.
all right,
So-
I'm gonna need that formula from
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But all right, so another really good question, I think, for some of the higher level people in my audience. I know a lot of people really struggle with letting go as entrepreneurs, like letting go of their baby. And so one thing that I have a lot of respect for what you've done, I mean, this is a multi-pronged question, so let me talk through it. But at what point did you hire a CEO? How did you get comfortable delegating tasks? And then what has that meant for your, kind of your work-life just balance and all of that? And so how did you get to that point where you were comfortable making that big hire, taking your hands off the wheel? And ultimately, I mean, it's worked out great. So I'd love to hear just your detailed take on that.
That's an extremely important question. And short answer is necessity.
Yeah?
Necessity. You cannot run a company that is more than 10 people by yourself.
Yeah.
You just can't. The cultural dynamics, people get sick, there's family shit that happens at home, there's stuff that isn't getting done right, there's training, there's people leaving, there's, you got to fire someone and you hire someone. You just cannot do it. And then you can't micromanage, because then you as a leader of the company, you're not going to be able to innovate. You're not going to be able to create, and you're not going to be able to educate your following. And so you're going to lose them. So by necessity, you have to start delegating. Have to. And ideally, you find someone that you already know that is skilled, usually within your own company or very closely associated with your company, that knows you and your company very well, to bring into a leadership role. And so I happen to have my commercial banker.
I think that was big. Not to cut you off, but even as I think through that, I think a lot of people, most of the fails I hear about are people that took these like wild gambles on someone outside of their direct area. So yeah, okay. So it was your commercial banker.
Yeah. So the commercial banker, and let me put this in perspective too. So in 2015, Seeking Health was the fastest growing company in Washington State, according to Inc. magazine.
Nice.
So we submitted our numbers to Inc. magazine, and we grew like 6,800% over 3 years. And again, no marketing team, no sales team, just word of mouth and good product development. And we grew really, really fast, obviously, which led to me needing to have a lot of different things put in place, like new systems, new technology, new people. Infrastructure. And everybody was going, hey man, good job, Ben, good job, you're kicking ass, good job. The only person who didn't do that was my commercial banker. Why? Because bankers are always looking at risk. What's risky? How do you mitigate risk? I'll loan you the money. He didn't look at the money at that point. He was looking at the business. Ben, have you thought about this? Ben, you have all your manufacturing done with one manufacturer. What are you gonna do about that? Ben, what about this? So he always looked at, okay, I see a potential problem that's gonna really cause issues, and here's a potential solution. And then he came down to work with me and go over our loans and numbers. And he goes, I got a question to pose you. And I already knew he was going to ask for the CEO position, and I didn't even market it. That was the other thing. Sometimes they just happen. I said, I know what the question's going to be, and yes, I'd like you to run for the CEO position, or like you to be CEO. And he's like, awesome. And then we go on the terms, and the terms were scary. So at that point, I'm making maybe, I don't know what I was profiting, maybe 600,000 EBITDA at the end of the year. I don't know.
How much revenue? Like how big is the business?
I think we were 6 million, 5 million.
Okay, so still very early stages.
Yeah, very early. Yeah, and he won $150,000. And I was like, damn, $600,000. You're like, well, Ben, you're making 600. Well, no, just because it's the bottom line doesn't mean I'm taking $600,000, especially in a fast growing company.
Right.
$600,000 goes fast, especially when Uncle Sam takes 40% of it.
Yep.
So, essentially I only have 300, but not even that because I got to run the business. So essentially I have less than 100,000. And I also grew the company on a shoestring. I was beans and rice. There's a great book called Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. Highly recommend that you read it. It's basically, the analogy is if you're starting a business, imagine you have a roll of toilet paper right next to you and you're in the bathroom and you just had the worst crap of your life. You just exploded crap all over your butt. And it's everywhere. And you look over the toilet paper roll, you have 5 squares left. That's all you got to run your business and clean your business.
Dangerous.
So that's how I rolled the company in the beginning stages. Because it's messy starting.
And so Adam's like 2 pieces of toilet paper right now.
Yeah. So Adam, I gave him 3 squares and I got 2 left for myself. And so I brought him on. And before I even brought him on, he shot me an email and he was like, Ben, we're negotiating. And he goes, Ben, and he was really bold and abrupt and rude in the email. I was like, man, if you're talking to me like this, and I respond back to him in an email, I said, if you're responding to me like this as owner of the company, I can't imagine what you're going to do to the team. So I can't have you as CEO. You lack interpersonal communication skills. I can't do it. You're not hired. And he was like, what? We were just about to sign. I said, yeah, I can't bring you on. He goes, wow. And I was like, crap, I'm screwed. But here's the deal. Adam wrote back and he goes, what can I do to fix it? I said, I need you to go get interpersonal training, take this conference and read these books. So he goes, done. I said, you do those, you come to me and you write back and you say how you're going to resolve things, and he did it all. And he's an amazing communicator.
And I feel like we're like running a little low on time, but your principles for your organization, I feel like they've done such the framework, the rules that you have from the top that rain down have enabled a level of scale. Could you just quickly speak on those? Because I feel like it's special and a lot of companies don't bring forward that kind of, just foundational pillars.
Yeah. Well, you have to embrace change because change always happens. I mean, as a business and the marketplace, it's always happening. And if your business is not performing in the best of economic times, then you're really screwed up in terms of how you're running your business. And the economy shouldn't matter. It really should not matter for the most part, unless you're a mortgage lender in this economy. That's a tough business to be in right now. But the supplement industry, people want to get healthy. So I would say be able to embrace change, want to serve your customer to the best ability that you actually can and really care about that. Another core value is never settle. So I have all these core values on Seeking Health listed.
Yep.
And never settling is if a problem happens, you got to resolve it the best you can. Or if you've got a formula and it's been helping a lot of people, but a new ingredient comes to market that's even better, reformulate, include it, adapt it. I reformulated our electrolytes. Amazing, helping a lot of people, but I found a better ingredient, reformulating it. And I don't micromanage. I trust my team. And if they don't work out, then we have words, and I try to fire them as fast as possible. And I pull myself away from that.
I love it. So on that note, you hired the CEO in 2015, and you've 10x since then, more or less. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And so all that stuff speaks volumes.
And he now owns 3% of the business as well.
So you got him equity. He's
Yep.
incentivized.
Yep.
I love it. Anything else you'd add to just leadership team and infrastructure?
So when you start your company, I hired people off of Craigslist back in the day when Craigslist was a thing, for $10, $15 an hour. And those people help you get started, but those people aren't the ones who get you from 50 to 100 million. So you hire folks to help you get from one stage to the next, and realize that people don't have the skill sets to take you from that stage to the next one unless they can adapt and grow with you.
When did you first notice that friction? Because you've been doing this a long time. I hear that, in the beginning you get kind of jack of all trades, people that can do multiple things, and then you need specialists that focus in on specific areas. When did you first notice that and feel that friction in your business?
When the culture went to shit.
Yeah.
When the culture starts really dropping is when you really need to start focusing on higher level people. And that's even more important for the leaders of the business to clarify their message. The bigger you get, the more important it is that you have clarity in your message. And that's something I'm actually currently working on. Because if I don't have clarity in my message, my team of 40 people are going to be floundering. So I have to really make sure I'm steering the ship in the right direction. But it's a really important point to know the people who got you from 5 million to 10 or 10 to 15 million may not be the people who get you from 30 to 50 or even from the next phase. And it's okay to let them go. You sit down and say, God, I really thank you for your time at Seeking Health or wherever you are. And you've helped us get from here to here. I notice that you're currently struggling. And I think you work best within these frameworks. And I don't think Seeking Health is a good fit for you anymore. And there's a lot of other companies that would be really welcome to have you. And you leave it like that. And you don't have to fire them right away. They can find another opportunity because it's amicable.
Yeah.
And I've let so many people go that way. And you notice that either they're not performing, and it's not because of lack of trying, but they're just kind of lost.
Yeah.
And then there's another thing that you should know within your business is if somebody is really performing and they're a go-getter, those are the people that you groom. Like you hear the stories of someone served in McDonald's and became CEO of McDonald's.
Yep.
Right? So there's those folks too.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Dr. Lynch, thank you so much for taking the time and bestowing this wisdom on my audience. Like, this is stuff that you don't see it on YouTube. Like someone in the trenches, operating, sharing what they're learning real time. I know you're going to go from 50 to 100 million. I look forward to part 2 of this. So thank you again, sir. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.